This week we studied a portion of Mishpatim. In this week's portion, we read about 23 positive commandments and 30 prohibitions, which is quite a large number of commandments in one portion. One of the commandments that appear in this week's portion is the mitzvah of the sabbatical, the seventh year as a year of rest for God. We read in chapter 23, verses 10 and 11 the following: 6 years you may sow your land and gather in its produce, but in the seventh year you should cease to walk in it. Immediately thereafter, and verse 12, we read about the prohibition of doing any labor on the Shabbat, and Sabbath, the seventh day of the week. 6 days you may do your work, but on the seventh day you must rest. Our sages explain that both the sabbatical year and the Sabbath day are serving for reminding us that God created the world in 6 days and on the seventh day rested. So the sabbatical comes to remind us that God is the creator of the universe, and that's why He owns the land, and 1 year we must let it rest and allow us to remember that God is the creator of the universe, and He's the one who is providing us with all our sustenance and our needs. The Sabbath, the seventh day of the week, the Shabbat, is also a reminder that God created the world in 6 days and He rested on the Sabbath, and that's why we are commanded to rest on the Shabbat. Therefore, one might think that perhaps on the sabbatical year we may not observe Shabbat, the seventh day. After all, the entire year is a Sabbath. The entire year serves as a reminder that God created the world and rested on the seventh. So why do we need, perhaps we don't need to keep the Shabbat during the sabbatical year. And that's why immediately thereafter, God is commanding us that we must observe the Shabbat, the seventh day of rest, even during the sabbatical year. But one might ask, why actually we should observe the Shabbat on the seventh year? Perhaps it's superfluous, there is no need. The Rebbe explains that observing the sabbatical year is lacking in two ways. First, it involves the observation only during farming, when we plow or water the plants, etc., that on the Sabbath we may not do any of that work. But the rest of the day, when we're at home socializing, eating, drinking, go about our day-to-day activities, there is no remembrance that God created the world. On the Sabbath, on the other hand, we remember that it is a special day every part of the day, regardless of activity we do. Even when we rest, we have a mitzvah to rest longer on Shabbat to serve God. The other part is, says the Rebbe, the sabbatical year involves only negative precepts, only prohibitions. We're not allowed to plow, we're not allowed to assist the trees with growing, to prune them, to plant new ones, etc. It's all about negativity, but there is nothing we do positive to remind us that God created the world in 6 days. The Shabbat, the seventh day, however, involves many activities in a positive way to remember that God created the world in 6 days and 7 days rested. For example, we drink and eat, we rest longer, we socialize, we allow our mindset to rest from the day-to-day difficulties and challenges, and therefore the Shabbat has something that the sabbatical year does not provide, and that's why God commanded us to observe the Shabbat, the seventh day of rest, even during the sabbatical year, even though the entire year is a Sabbath to God. And thank you for listening, and I want to wish you a very successful week.